Why does everything fresh and new look so bad? Whether it be the complete lack of color, the replacement of buttons with flat screens, or the oversimplification of seemingly every brand and logo in the world, new things just don't look all that interesting. And nowhere was this more apparent than with the announcement of Ferrari's new electric car, the Ferrari Luce. The internet's reaction was a mix of awkward silences followed almost immediately by a public beatdown. People absolutely hated the fact that one of the most exciting and soulful brands in the world made something so bland. So why do companies do this? I mean, a brand like Ferrari would have known what was coming, and yet the exterior still looks the way it does. Why do new things just keep looking worse? Well, that's what I want to have a look at today. But before I go any further, if you're wondering why I'm sounding the way I do, I've slowly been recovering from a vocal cord palsy for the past 3 months, which is why I just haven't been uploading at all. And yeah, I still have quite a bit to go on that recovery process, but at least I'm at a point now where I can somewhat get sound out, and I have things that I want to say. So if you'll bear with this voice, let's get into the rest of the video. Number 1. Everything is designed for no one. Alright, so nowadays with pretty much everything being online and everyone having access to everything, every major brand in the world is now seemingly chasing the same customer. It's not someone with a particular taste or a point of view. In fact, they're not even a real person. What I mean by this is that nowadays big brands are trying to make the entire world their customer base. But when you try and appeal to as many people as possible, you end up appealing to no one in particular. It's an idea that I went into more depth about in my vintage design video, worth watching if you haven't. But the key idea is this: in the process of trying to make something for everyone, the result isn't actually the best version of the thing, it's just the least disagreeable one. It's often the design and shape that lost the fewest arguments, whereas in the past, designers had much more free reign and therefore could be more interesting with their work. And the more opinions you have in a room, the more personality gets shaved away. Not necessarily intentionally, but just sort of inevitably. And you sort of end up in this weird cycle where every strong opinion gets pushback from someone somewhere, and internal business approval becomes more important than external customer approval. Which brings me to point number 2. Designed to expire. Things used to be made to last, not just physically but visually. A leather wallet was supposed to look better at 10 years old than when it was new. A well-made car was supposed to look way ahead of its time, way beyond its time, and a well-designed building was supposed to age into its surroundings. Patina and wear wasn't a problem to be solved, it was baked into the design. There was this assumption that you would still be using this thing a decade from now, and it had to be able to uphold that kind of visual standard. But nowadays that is completely gone because everything is built around a replacement cycle. When it comes to tech, the average person gets a new phone every 2 years when their phone contract ends, and a new car every 4 to 6 years, typically in tune with when their lease ends. I mean, even a lot of advertisements for new cars are already priming you for when you end up coming back again for the upgrade later, but you haven't even bought the thing yet. But the big problem is that when something isn't meant to last, why would you design it to? I mean, why would you add depth to a surface that's just going to get discarded? Or why would you try and design a whole new visual language that ages well if aging is not part of the equation? So what you get instead are things designed entirely around the moment of newness. It's the unboxing, it's the launch, it's the first impression in a showroom or on a product page. They are optimized for that single moment, and then they start dating almost immediately. But when you're designing for newness rather than longevity, what you end up with is designs that chase trends or that try to get reactions out of people and that are not all that concerned about looking good or standing the test of time. But the other thing is also, when a bunch of brands are all chasing the same trends, everything starts looking like everything else, especially in the same sort of 3-year design window. The whole industry moves together on what looks new right now until eventually it expires and they just move on to the next thing. And again, what you end up with are designs that just aren't meant to be beautiful, they're just meant to be modern. The things that have aged the best were built around a clear, specific identity that was built to last, whereas a lot of current designs I strongly doubt will hold up in the same way, though only time will tell. But that brings me to point number 3. No render killed the craftsman. Initially, when the Ferrari Luce was announced, they only revealed the interior with official footage of what looked more like 3D renders than actual product. Then, as YouTubers and journalists got invited to view these interior pieces in person, I found myself actually quite liking the look of it. But it got me thinking about how new ideas and new designs get approved, because nowadays an idea sort of lives and dies by the way it is rendered and then pitched for funding. But when you take a physical prototype versus a digital render, there are some things that tend to get lost in translation. There was a time when designing something meant making it. Clay models, hand-drawn sketches refined over months, physical prototypes that someone actually held and turned over in their hands or walked around with. The approval process was a tactile one. Someone would come in, run their hand along a surface, stand back and look at the proportions in real light and decide whether or not it felt right. The object had to earn its existence in a way. But that's largely gone now. Nowadays, a design can go all the way from idea to sign-off, having existed mostly as just a render on a screen. The average new building development can generate extraordinary amounts of funding based on 3D renders of what could be. But there are limitations to that, especially when things like depth and texture become afterthoughts, and so over time these factors stop getting factored in simply because the process just doesn't really ask for it anymore. Watch any new car review on a new BMW or Mercedes and a common complaint is hard, scratchy, cheap feeling materials atop a boring black on black colorway. Now compare that to vintage German cars and the difference in visual interest is crazy. A lot of these details existed because someone made them, held them, and decided they were worth keeping. Things were created in real life instead of created digitally and then sort of loosely translated. Also, think about what looks strongest on a digital render. Clean surfaces, simple geometry, and flat colors. A render can make a plain, smooth, uncomplicated object look sort of good, until you put it in the real world and the look starts falling apart. So over time, as more and more things get approved on screens, you end up with more and more things that only look good on a screen, not so much in real life. Which is why I think the Luce's interior was generally much more liked by people. It felt a lot more real because designers had to actually test it in person, which in turn led to a much more timeless result. So to tie it up, why do new things keep looking worse? It's from brands trying to appeal to everyone and ending up meaning nothing to anyone. Things being designed and approved on screens and boardrooms, which slowly squeezes out qualities that matter in real life. And ultimately industries that replaced longevity with newness until everything started looking the same. The Ferrari Luce is a good example of all three in one object, and suffice to say, it's not well left for it. Personally, looking at something like this, I'm not necessarily that disappointed in how it looks. I'm also just disappointed in what it could have been. But with all that being said, thank you very much for sticking through me with this video. I hope you found it interesting, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.